The Rolex Daytona put me on a 4-month wait list in 2022. Not for a Daytona. For the privilege of being told I was not ready for a Daytona. The sales associate, very polite, very practiced, suggested I might want to start with a date just. Build a purchase history. I had walked in wanting a chronograph with a tachymetric bezel and walked out with homework. $32,000 on the secondary market, a 5-year wait list at retail, and somehow I was the one who needed to prove myself worthy. That experience broke something loose in my brain. Because here is the thing about the Rolex Daytona. It is a genuinely excellent chronograph. Launched in 1963, named after the Florida city synonymous with speed, made iconic by Paul Newman, whose personal Daytona later sold at auction for $17.8 million. Nobody is arguing the watch is not special. But when the steel reference 126500LN trades north of $32,000 on the gray market, you stop asking whether the watch is good and start asking whether the experience of trying to buy it is worth the indignity. That reference runs the caliber 4130, Rolex's in-house movement, built in oyster steel, beating at 4 Hz with a 72-hour power reserve and a parachrome hairspring that resists magnetic interference. It is also the watch with the parachrome ceramic tachymeter bezel that does not fade, scratch, or care about UV exposure. Technically, it is exceptional. The purchasing experience is the problem. For most people, it is not worth it, and the watches that follow are proof that you do not need to beg. First alternative. If any brand gets to borrow from the Daytona's visual language without catching grief, it's Zenith. From 1988 until 2000, the Daytona itself ran on a modified Zenith El Primero movement, the caliber 4030, before Rolex developed the caliber 4130 to replace it. Zenith literally powered the Daytona for over a decade, so the Chronomaster Sport isn't a tribute, it's a homecoming. The current El Primero 3600 movement operates at 36,000 vibrations per hour, 5 Hz compared to the Daytona's 4. That extra frequency lets the central chronograph hand sweep a full rotation in 10 seconds, reading down to 1/10 of a second. The Daytona cannot do this. The Chronomaster Sport won the Chronograph Prize at the 2021 Grand Prix d'Horlogerie de Genève, and the column wheel and horizontal clutch are visible through a sapphire caseback, something Rolex has never offered on any steel sport model. Entry on a strap runs $10,200. On bracelet, $11,800. You're saving over $20,000 compared to a gray market Daytona and getting a technically superior movement from the company that taught Rolex how to build one. Second alternative. The Daytona has Paul Newman. The Speedmaster has the actual moon. In 1965, NASA selected the Omega Speedmaster as their official crew watch. That decision came down to testing. Rolex submitted a pre-Daytona reference 6238 running the Valjoux 72 caliber, the same movement family that predated the El Primero era in Daytona history. During NASA's qualification trials, the Rolex stopped running twice, fogged up during the humidity test, and its hands fouled against one another during temperature extremes. The Speedmaster survived everything. On July 20th, 1969, Buzz Aldrin wore it on the lunar surface during Apollo 11. The current model runs the caliber 3861, a coaxial master chronometer movement certified to resist magnetic fields up to 15,000 Gauss, a standard set by METIS, Switzerland's Federal Institute of Metrology, which tests to a higher bar than standard COSC certification. The case measures 42 mm by 13.2 mm, and it's still manual wind. You have to engage with the thing every couple of days. Retail starts at $7,400. That's less than a quarter of the gray market Daytona price, for a watch that went to the moon while the Daytona was failing its entrance exam. Third alternative, Tudor is Rolex's sister company, which makes the Black Bay Chrono the Daytona's cousin, who showed up to the family reunion in better shape and at a fraction of the cost. The caliber MT5813 is based on the architecture of the Breitling B01, COSC certified, runs a column wheel at 4 Hz, and stores roughly 70 hours of power reserve, nearly matching the Daytona's 72. The Black Bay Chrono also has screw-down chronograph pushers, something most Daytona alternatives skip entirely. Water resistance hits 200 meters. The Daytona tops out at 100 meters. In 2025, Tudor added a 5-link Jubilee-style steel bracelet option alongside the original rivet style. Standard retail is $6,875. On the secondary market, it trades around $5,100, actually below retail, which means you could buy one used and still have enough left over for a decent vacation before you hit half the price of a gray market Daytona. Fourth alternative. Here's the thing I keep coming back to. That afternoon at the Rolex boutique, nobody talked to me about movement architecture or water resistance depth. Nobody mentioned power reserve or magnetic resistance. The entire conversation was about spending enough money on other watches to earn the right to spend money on the watch I actually wanted. And I think that tells you everything about what the Daytona has become. It's an incredible chronograph attached to a purchasing experience designed to make you feel small. Every watch on this list reverses that equation. You walk in, you point, you leave with something on your wrist. The radical act here is just being treated like a customer. In 1984, Breitling chairman Ernest Schneider partnered with Italy's Frecce Tricolori Aerobatic Squadron to solve a real problem. When pilots opened and closed their cockpits at speed, debris would crack their watch crystals. Breitling's answer was to recess the crystal into the bezel and add 4 protruding rider tabs at the quarter-hour markers as physical shields. That's design driven by function, not by committee. The 2026 update trimmed the case thickness from 15.1 mm down to 13.77 mm. On paper, that's a small change. On the wrist, under a shirt cuff, it's the difference between wearing a watch and wearing a statement. The in-house Breitling manufacture caliber 01 is COSC certified, uses a column wheel, delivers 70 hours of power reserve, and keeps time within -4 to +6 seconds per day. It also has a date function, which the Daytona famously does not. Starting price is $5,950, roughly 81% less than the gray market Daytona. You could buy 5 Chronomats, line them up on your dresser, and still have money left for the rouleau bracelet replacement you will never need because the original is one of the most comfortable in the industry. Fifth alternative. Jack Heuer created the Carrera in 1963, same year as the Daytona. Both were racing chronographs born from the same motorsport obsession. Both carry tachometer bezels with tri-compax subdial layouts. The Carrera just didn't get the Paul Newman boost, which honestly is the only reason it costs what it costs. The current caliber TH2000 is an automatic column wheel chronograph with a vertical clutch, running at 28,800 vibrations per hour. Its power reserve stretches to 80 hours, the longest of any watch on this list, including the Daytona. For the 60th anniversary, TAG Heuer introduced the glassbox design, a domed sapphire crystal that rises over the dial's edge, reinterpreting the curved acrylic crystals from the 1960s and the 1970s. Available in both 39 and 42 mm cases. Retail starts around $6,200. Average secondary market prices hover around $3,000. You could buy 2 Carreras on the gray market and still have $26,000 sitting in your account compared to what you'd spend chasing a Daytona. I never did buy that Datejust. Never built that purchase history. What I did, eventually, was walk into a different store entirely, point at a chronograph behind the glass, and say, I'd like that one. The sales associate smiled, pulled it out, sized it, and handed it to me in a bag. No waitlist, no audition, no 5-year loyalty program. Just a watch on my wrist that afternoon. Turns out that's what buying a watch is supposed to feel like.